everyone, my name is Tori, this is Novel Life, and welcome back to my channel. And welcome to my January TBR. It's 2024, I'm so excited for what this year can bring in terms of reading. I have my January TBR built and it has a wide range of different books just to get a sense of like exactly what I'm in the mood for going into 2024. Because I want to say it's fantasy, I want to say it's historical fiction, I want to say it's romance, but you know, it could be something completely different. I did rearrange my whole library. I added some new shelves and I completely reorganized everything. I'll have that video linked in the cards for you guys if you want to go check it out, because I know things look a little different. But with all that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into my January TBR. So in January, I do have some anticipated releases. One is a very big one, but I'm going to start with my two Patreon picks. So I always give my patrons about 5 or 6 books to choose from, and I always choose the top 2. And the top 2 that they chose are 2 arcs that I have. The first one is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. This book comes out, I'm pretty sure, in March, but NetGalley had a 1 day only for 24 hours. You can download the arc without being like approved for it. So I downloaded it and I'm going to be reading that for an exclusive Patreon vlog, as well as The Bride by Ali Hazelwood. So yes, I did get an e-arc of this as well from Berkeley, which I was very excited about from NetGalley. This one comes out in February 6th. So I'm of course going to have to read it in January at some point, but I'm very excited to do a Patreon exclusive reading vlog of those two, because those are 2 books that a lot of people are really hyped up about. So fingers crossed that I like them. One's more paranormal. The Bride is like a vampire werewolf kind of book. It's just something different, paranormal, by Ali Hazelwood, that I'm excited for. And then This Could Be Us is the second book in the Skyland series, which the first book was Before I Let Go, which I loved, gave 5 stars. It was amazing, and I cannot wait for Soledad's book because I'm just itching for a good Kennedy Ryan romance, you know what I mean? So I'm very excited for those 2. I am participating in a read-along. We are reading a book a month, and the book that we're reading in January is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Obviously, we already read House of Earth and Blood. We had our live show in December, and this book will be having our live show towards the end of January. I'll put the date in the description box below. It's going to be on my channel. I am so excited to reread this book. I have not reread this book since it came out, but obviously we're reading this book in preparation for A House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas, which is coming out on January 30th. I am so ready. Like, I cannot wait to find all the Easter eggs in this book because I haven't reread this book, and highlight and tab and annotate it. If you would like to see a reading vlog on just House of Sky and Breath, let me know. It'll be a reread reading vlog, but I'm very excited. This little bookmark came from one of my friends for Christmas. It's Doggy and the little fire sprite. If you know, you know. I wanted to put this on here. I'll be using that as a bookmark when I start this book. But yeah, House of Flame and Shadow, January 30th. I'm very excited. I will be dragging my ass to Barnes & Noble to pick up this book as soon as it comes out, because I cannot trust anyone to deliver the book on the day that it actually comes out. So I'm just going to take myself to Barnes & Noble to pick it up. But I'm very excited for this. I cannot wait to see what Sarah J. Maas is going to do. Like, we've been waiting, I think, like 2 years for this book. So I'm very excited. I have high hopes. I'm ready. My soul and my body is ready. I'm ready. Some other new releases that are coming out that I hope to pick up in January is Loving Romeo by Laura Pavlov. So this book comes out January 18th. I don't think I'll get an arc for it because I don't think I'm on Laura's arc team, but I'm very interested in it because I think it's a boxer romance or a fighter romance. If you've been around for a while, you guys know that like MMA, boxing, fighter romances are my thing. I love it. We do not have enough of that kind of sport and romance. And when I saw the cover of this where it had boxing gloves on it, I was like, sold. I don't even know what the blurb is. I haven't even read it. I don't even care. I don't even care. I am just ready. I think this is the start of a new series by Laura Pavlov, and I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm so excited. Also, One Night by Lena Hendricks is coming out on January 8th. I don't know if I'm getting an arc of this one or not, but I'm going to see what other people are saying that do get arcs to see if I'm going to pick this up immediately. One of my goals of 2024 is to not always feel like I have to pick up every single new release. I'll listen to my friends and what people are saying and read reviews just to see if it's something I'm really in the mood for. So yeah, I have that one on my tentative TBR for January. It's on my new releases for January that I'm excited for. So now on to some of my other books that I have on my January TBR. Those are the 2 new releases that I'm like really, really interested in. I do have a couple others that I will keep my eye out on reviews, but I'm not sure if I'll actually read those in January. But I do have One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig on my TBR for January. My audiobook just came in like the last 2 days of December, so I'm very glad that it came in just in time for the new year. I have heard really good things from a lot of people that I follow on Instagram and on TikTok. I was kind of nervous to dive into this. Apparently, this is a very interesting fantasy romance that the monster that's in her head is something that protects her. I honestly don't know anything else other than that, and I kind of want to go into this book blind. You can let me know if you've read this book or not, and tell me what you thought, but I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested. I don't think I've read anything by Rachel Gillig ever, so I'm intrigued to see if her writing is for me. I do have the second book on hold at my library, so depending on how I like the first book, that'll depend if I pick up the second book in January. I don't know if, I'm assuming this one's on a cliffhanger since there is a second book, but you can tell me in the comments down below, but I'm very excited to read this because I've heard really great things. Another fantasy I want to read is What the River Knows by Isabel Abanzi. I think it's her name, Abanzi. This is, I heard, is kind of like the Death of the Nile meets the Mummy, if I'm not mistaken. I picked up this at Barnes & Noble. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I heard a lot of people say that if you like Divine Rivals, you're going to like this book. And I did love Divine Rivals. It's one of my favorite books of 2023. So I am very intrigued by this one. I don't know anything other than that, but I'm very intrigued. I'm very interested in fantasy. And I do have a lot more longer fantasy on my shelf. But I wanted to start with some smaller fantasy. So One Dark Window, What the River Knows. And I do have this A Starling House by Alex E. Haro on my January TBR. I am very excited for this one. This is a gothic fantasy, a modern gothic fantasy. And someone told me it's a little bit creepy. It has some horror elements. And as long as I know that going in, I'm pretty okay with like, you know, mentally preparing myself because I'm a little bit of a scaredy cat when it comes to like horror type things, but I'm willing to give this one a try because I've heard mixed things. I haven't heard as much as kind of like the other books, but I am interested in this one just because I do like a gothic fantasy every once in a while. I also have the audiobook on hold at my library and it says 4 weeks, so that means it should come in hopefully in January. Fingers crossed that it does. If not, I'll just read this physically. Another book I have on my January TBR, Atlantia by Jennifer Saint. I read Ariadne by Jennifer Saint, I think back in 2021, and I really loved that book. I love how she takes these very powerful women in Greek mythology and she kind of turns the myth around and she just kind of rewrites it in her own way, and I like the way they write it. So I'm excited for Atlantia. Artemis is in here. And she has something to do with Artemis as well, the goddess. So I'm very intrigued with this book and I cannot wait to read it. The next book I have is Atomic Love by Janine Fields. So this is a historical fiction book. And even though it's historical fiction, some people say it's romance. I don't know how much of a romance is in here and how prevalent it is. But the synopsis of this book reminds me of Oppenheimer, but just the female version of it. So our female character in this book, she has worked on the atomic bomb. And she fell in love with someone while she was doing that. Now it's 5 years later. They're not together anymore, but she's also dealing with the guilt of working on this and seeing the impacts of what's happened and, you know, everything that's come with that. So if you've seen Oppenheimer, you know what I'm talking about. I love that movie. Fantastic movie. But she also starts to fall in love with an FBI agent, but the person that she used to be in love with comes back. So I don't really know all too much other than that, but I'm still intrigued. I've heard a lot of good things and I just have had this on my shelf for a while. So I thought, why not put one historical fiction on my shelf, and it'll be this one. So this is my historical fiction for the month. I hope I read it. If not, I'll pick another one if I'm not feeling this one when I start it. I do have The Wakeup Call by Beth O'Leary on my list. I have heard that sometimes Beth O'Leary books don't always end in a happily ever after, but I'm willing to give this one a try. I read the synopsis of this book and it sounded really interesting. Our female character and our main male character, they both work together at a hotel. They're basically rivals and they have to work together to find out whose wedding rings have gone missing. They've lost, like a guest lost their wedding rings. There's 4 rings and the lost have found, and the race is on for both of our characters to save their beloved hotel and their jobs because the hotel is just suffering financially. So it just sounds really interesting. I have the audiobook. I can get the audiobook for this from my library. So I've heard that some of my friends gave it 4 stars. They liked this book, but they said it's different than Beth O'Leary's other books, but I haven't read any of their other books. So I'm interested to see how I feel about this one. And the last one I have is Rein Me In by Kayla Gross. So this one, I think the author wrote Trick Shot, which was the holiday novella I read back in December that I had a lot of fun with. But this one seems a little bit more serious. My hold from the library for the audiobook just came in, so I'm very interested in this one. This is a small town romance. Our main male character, Gavin, he's dealing with a lot of things with, he's stuck with a pile of debt, responsibility of a failing family business, and a little brother with a drinking problem. But his dad died 9 months ago, so he had to step up and help his family. And then our female character is coming back after her brother has died in a tragic accident and her mom gets injured. And now, only 5 years after her brother's accident, she can't hide from grief, the people, or the guilt that she's been running from. So I feel like this is going to be a very emotional romance, even though the cover just is very cutesy. So I'm very intrigued. Like I said, I have the audiobook for this, so I'm very excited to see what that romance is all about. But that is all the books I have on my January TBR. You can let me know a book in the comments down below that you're excited to read in January. From all the books I talked about in this video, for the emoji, drop me a boxing glove emoji, because I'm very excited for the Laura Pavlov boxing romance. Like, I can't tell you how excited I am for that book. So drop me a boxing glove in the comments down below. That's really random, but that's just what came to mind. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content for me. As always, I hope you're living a novel life, and I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.